But recently we stumbled on another observation. Just when we thought we had exhausted all the experiments possible, I was watching a phantom limb patient. So imagine I am the patient and I lost my left arm. And my left arm is actually a phantom, a very vividly present phantom arm. And somebody goes and touches Ken here, who's sitting in the audience. And I'm the patient of the phantom limb. I'm just watching Ken's right arm being touched and stroked. Guess what happens? I feel the touch and stroke in my phantom limb, although I don't have an arm. And I'm just merely watching another human being touched and stroked. Now, how in heaven's name could that happen? Now, I was reading some papers by Giacomo Rizzolatti and listening to a talk given by him. He discovered a class of neurons called mirror neurons. And in that class of neurons, I found the explanation. I'll explain this briefly. It turns out in the front of the brain there are nerve cells called motor command neurons. So in the right frontal lobe, I have in prefrontal area and frontal cortex, I have neurons which send commands through the brainstem to the arm, through the brachial plexus, and then these commands orchestrate the sequence of muscle twitches I need to go and reach for a stone here, reach for a pen, put a peanut in my mouth, reach for a peanut, push an object, pull an object. These are all semi-skilled actions, and different neurons are there, different command neurons for different simple commands. This has been known for over 50 years, discovered by Vernon Mountcastle at Johns Hopkins, right? So these are called motor command neurons. And monkeys have them, people have them. And these are in the premotor and motor cortex. So there's a program that's used to generate the appropriate sequence of muscle twitches to execute that action. Now what here Rizzolatti found was about 20% of these neurons, 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 of these neurons, will not only fire when I reach out and grab a peanut, but when I watch you or you reach out and grab a peanut. So they're immediately called monkey see, monkey do neurons, or mirror neurons, because they're mirroring somebody else's behavior. And they're found in humans too. So this is a very exciting, extraordinary important, because what the neuron is doing in effect is saying, is adopting other person's perspective towards that peanut. The neuron is firing, and the person is saying, the same neuron is now firing as would fire if I were to reach out and grab a peanut. Therefore, that person is now reaching out and grabbing a peanut. So it's doing a virtual reality simulation of the other human being's mind or brain, internal events in that person's brain. So now it turns out that a mirror neurons also for touch. If you touch me, if somebody were to touch me, my left, I already told you, postcentral gyrus cells fire, and areas behind it also start firing. Most of these neurons are called sensory tactile neurons because they respond to touch and they fire. There's a map in the brain of all the surface of the body. But some of these neurons, yes, you guessed it, about 10% of them, will fire when I simply watch Art here being touched. So I simply watch you being touched. The sensory neurons in my brain, just think about it. I'm watching you being touched and the sensory touch neuron, exactly. The touch neurons in my brain are firing like crazy. So this raises an interesting question. If the sensory neuron in my brain fires when you touch Art, how come I don't feel it? You touch him, I do it. Okay? I see him being touched and I have some empathy. If you hit him, just hit him. Okay. I feel some empathy for this, but I don't literally say, ouch, and I don't draw my arm away. Why is that? How does the brain know the difference? The answer is this input from the skin receptors going back to my brain and vetoing the output, partly vetoing the output of the mirror neuron, saying, look, you're not being touched, he's being touched. So empathize by all means, but don't literally start experiencing the touch. Empathize with his pain, but don't say ouch and withdraw. Don't confuse his pain with your pain. So I call these empathy neurons, right? But now here comes an interesting question. If this is true, how do you test it? If what I'm saying is true, then my own intact skin and receptors are going to my brain and inhibiting the output of the mirror neurons, thereby allowing me to empathize with your touch, but not literally dissolve into you or experience your touch sensations. How do you test this theory? Well, the answer is if you amputate my arm, there's no sensory signals coming in. If I watch you being touched, I should feel it in my phantom. That's exactly what we found. Not only that, what Lisa, one of my grad students, found was, Laura, what she found was, you simply inject anesthetic into the arm, temporarily paralyzing the arm into the brachial plexus, temporarily anesthetizing the arm becomes numb, and I watch you being touched. I feel it in my anesthetized arm. So the only thing that's separating your mind, your sensorium from my mind, is the skin, and there's airwaves between us. Otherwise our brains are all hooked up together, like the global worldwide net or Facebook. This is already invented by evolution several 100,000 years ago. And so hence the importance of mirror neurons.